situation because the organization went out of its way to give you everything you wanted this past couple of seasons, but now you're putting them in a bad situation.
Stephen A., you think Kawhi should be held more accountable?
Well, absolutely. Max will attest to the fact that I've been on this bandwagon for quite some time. I've beaten Kendrick Perkins and Robert Horry to this. Not that they're wrong, but I was just saying that I've been on this tip for quite some time. Just to put it out there, I would have strong reservations about giving Kawhi Leonard a long-term deal. I've said that on many occasions. Now, let me say why. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not blind. This dude is a top 5 player in the game when healthy. He is big time. Top 5 because of what he does on both ends of the floor. Not to mention the fact that he's fresh off of 11 games in the postseason where he was averaging 30 on 57% shooting. The brother is the real deal. The problem is you can't trust him. Kawhi Leonard, you can't trust him to be available because he's had durability issues. He certainly ain't going to help you marketing and promotion-wise. That ain't what he does. Kawhi Leonard shows up to work, seems to want to work when he wants to work, with whom he wants to work with, how he wants to work, and he goes on about his business. You ain't got to worry about his private business being publicized. He don't talk to anybody. He truly is a cyborg. That's what he is. I get all of that. And I'm not trying to sit up there and cast aspersions on his character. I don't know him. What I'm saying is from the outside looking in, he's a guy that obviously engages in load management. He required the team. He basically threatened them. I'll go to the Lakers unless you do what I want you to do and mortgage in your future to get Paul George. Then after that, he doesn't show up against Dallas in a pivotal Game 7. They lose that series in the bubble. They come back this year. He's hurt. He's sitting upstairs instead of down on the bench with the team and all of that stuff. And need I remind you, Max, that when he was in San Antonio, there was discomfort and some semblance of confrontation because Tony Parker and all of those guys were saying, well, damn, we've had similar injuries. It ain't take this long for us to come back. And that was what ultimately precipitated him saying he wanted to be traded by the San Antonio Spurs. There's some history here of Kawhi being about Kawhi. And we all know that his talents require that. Nobody should question his money in terms of what you give him, in terms of what he deserves when playing on the court. But he doesn't promote and market for you. He's got an injury that they're saying may keep him out of next season, Max. And he hasn't proven to be durable. If I'm the Los Angeles Clippers, with all of those things jumbled up together, the last thing I look at Kawhi Leonard, he's not a culture builder. He's a mercenary. And I pay him to perform. And if he can't perform, he does nothing for me because he doesn't do anything to promote the sport and he doesn't do anything to promote my team.
I would give him a long-term deal. With the Spurs, look, here's the fact about Kawhi. What you said, I get it. I get what you're saying. I'm not disputing it. But what I would add to it is some dudes' bodies just aren't built the same way. He is injury prone. His muscles and bones aren't held together with the ligaments the same way, say, LeBron's are, right? I don't think it's because he's not putting in work. I think it's because just the way he is genetically. So he had an issue in San Antonio. Remember the mysterious quad injury? He didn't feel the medical staff reportedly was taking it seriously enough, right? He eventually gets out of San Antonio. He turned out to be right. He was a finals MVP in San Antonio. Finals MVP in Toronto. That mercenary, they picked him up for 1 year. He wanted to go home. He didn't want to live in Canada. He wanted to be in LA where he's from. Goes to the Clippers. You're right against Dallas. There's no arguing that. That's bad. Everyone has a bad series. It's a bad time to have a bad Game 7. He's had so many great ones. And then last year, he missed the series because once again he was hurt. And reportedly now, he is also rumored not to be so happy with the fact that maybe the medical staff didn't take his injury seriously enough. He has a torn ACL. So this is Kawhi. He's a killer. He's the best player on a championship team. He has injury concerns. That
$200 million plus contracts. Meanwhile, also in the West, LeBron James has facilitated a new-look Lakers squad corralling more star power with the addition of Russell Westbrook and also Carmelo Anthony. So, Stephen A., who would you say is more motivated heading into the upcoming season? Is it LeBron or is it Steph?
I'm going to say Steph. I understand what LeBron was saying the other day, and I'll leave that to you, Max. But I'm going to say Steph Curry. You signed. There's no player in the history of basketball that signed two $200 million deals. That would happen to be Steph Curry. That's what he did. And let me be very, very clear to speak to the greatness of Steph Curry. He signed for $215 million over 4 years, averaging $53.75 million per year. And no one on the planet blinked. Because we all know he deserved those damn dollars. He's Steph Curry. He is the greatest shooter that God ever created. It is that simple. And if anybody deserves this money, it is him. He is a sniper extraordinaire, the most elite sniper the game has ever seen. And he is absolute box office because unlike some people like Kawhi Leonard, he actually markets and promotes the brand he represents as well as the league. And so when I look at it from that perspective, and I think about what they had to go through the last 2 years without Klay Thompson, been 2 years. Now, I know last season was truncated because of COVID-19, and we get all of that. But the last 2 seasons, the Golden State Warriors have not had the services of Klay Thompson. And if I'm Steph Curry, who went to 5 consecutive NBA finals, who won 3 championships in that period of time, and I had to suffer what I had to suffer through the last 2 years, the only person hungrier than me, or just as hungry as me, might be Draymond Green. That's about it. They can't wait for Klay to come back. Klay can't wait to come back. And Klay, one of the top 5 shooters in basketball history, and a Hall of Famer already, the opportunity that Steph is looking at for them to reunite, with everybody talking about the Lakers and the Clippers and all and Phoenix and all of this other stuff, Lord have mercy. Look out for the Golden State Warriors. They are coming.
Steph Curry, I'm going to need a lower third for him pretty soon, the way you have it for LeBron, Stephen A., because I'm accused of being a lower third. I'm going to need one for Steph when I talk about him, the way you need one for LeBron. Great family man, philanthropist, et cetera, et cetera. Because I'm accused of being a Steph Curry hater. One of my favorite players in any sport ever to watch, a miraculous player to put your eyes on. I point out that something like in overtime, in a winner-go-home game this season, it's not just that they lost. He scored 0 points. I just pointed that out. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's a great player. But I point that out.
I just think it's important, Max, that you remind people at the time you had more hair, no crew cut on the side, and you didn't have any facial hair. That's the last time. That's when that was going on with Steph Curry. I just want to let the world know that.
No. I mean this season. This season when they made the play-in game.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
The reason that doesn't even occur to you because it wasn't reported. No one noticed it. But in overtime, in a winner-go-home game, this season, he scored 0 points. And no one bats an eye. Could you imagine if that was LeBron James, who scored 0 points in overtime of a winner-go-home game? We would be killing him. And that's because LeBron is compared to the GOAT, Michael Jordan. He is playing against a ghost for the title of greatest of all time. He's running out of time. He's getting up there in age. He has a super team around him, even though it's imperfect parts, but it's still super talented. You always bring up, if I say, hey, could Steph ever be the greatest player ever? You talk about his height, and you'd be right. He's 6'3". He's the greatest 6'3" or under player ever. But because he's 6'3", he ain't never going to be the greatest player who ever lived. Right? He's already reached the mountaintop of what he's capable of doing in terms of his own legacy that way.
We thought that coming into last year. And look at what he did last year.
Because he's great. He was as good as he's ever been. And he's great. But he is not challenging MJ. That's what LeBron's up against. He does not have 6 championships. He does have a super team around him. No excuses. He is LeBron James. He's facing the most pressure, like we were just talking about, and he's got to be the most motivated.
I'm going to say something to you, Max Kellerman. I think you need to buckle your seatbelt for what I'm about to say because it's really true. You're right. Steph doesn't compare to MJ. Size and height has something to do with it. His lack of defensive prowess has a lot to do with it because he certainly was not even close to the defender that Michael Jordan did. But